Donald Trump has to institute martial law. He has to weaponize the government. I'm going back to what I said in 2016. What did I say before he was even elected? Long before he was elected, while he was running, what did I say? I said that if there's going to be any real change in this country, I predicted it all perfectly. He was going to have to, and I said we would know that he would be instituting martial law and weaponizing the government because he would drop the airborne on the border. That it would be something the equivalent of that, if not that specifically. I made a commercial with the meme of drop the 82nd recently, spent a bunch of money on it to push that around, and Twitter getting in the way as much as they can to prevent people from seeing that. No, they're not getting in the way at all of the anti-Jews, but get in the way of proud white people standing up for ourselves. But I said, if he doesn't do it, it'll be nothing but red tape and judges. I said all the way down to sheriffs will be standing in his way of accomplishing what he wanted to do and at least promised to white America. And that is exactly what ended up happening, isn't it? That is exactly what ended up happening. Same thing is going to happen this time. If Donald Trump doesn't get into office and weaponize the government, as the anti-whites are all talking about him, we're going to take a look at an article right now. They're all talking about, oh my God, he's going to weaponize the government. I fucking hope he does. We need him to. We absolutely need him to weaponize it all. We have suffered, all of us, you and you and you and you and you, everybody who's alive. We have suffered every single day of our life of watching the Republicans refuse to do what has to be done to win. And they are the ipso facto resistance to our victimization, even though the Republican Party, Republican ideology is replete, absolutely suffocating in anti-whiteism as well. They just have to make different claims because they have different constituencies, don't they? White people who are saying, what about us? And they need to be saying it specifically. What about us as the white race? What about us as the country that we create? America. All right? Western civilization. What about us? So, Republican Party, ipso facto, defender against our victimization for the totality of our lives, has been dropping the ball. It's not the right thing to do. You see, there are rules here. And even when, and I worked on the Hill, even when there aren't specific laws to stop Republicans from doing things to Democrats, from doing things to Democrat voters, doing things to anti-whites, to classifying them as terrorists, not even specific laws. They still don't do it because they feel like it's unsavory. What unsavory? These people are white erasing us. We are being brutally raped, gang raped, heads caved in, butchered, maimed. Our children are being slaughtered. Our children are being taught to hate themselves, and they have, of course, for generations, but in absolutely the most inhuman, grievous ways that you can fathom. And they're like, it's unsavory to handle them roughly. Well, you're not going to be able to do this like a businessman, Mr. Trump. You're not going to be able to do this. Now, for us here, we've talked about it. What is it that we can actually do? What is it that we can do through Trump and while Trump? What we can't do through Kamala and while Kamala in the same way. So that's our support of Donald Trump. And this conversation, though, this tete-a-tete, this private conversation between you and me, it's just us, right? This private conversation, we are talking about what he can and must do as the president if he is going to make any fundamental change. If he doesn't do this, if he doesn't weaponize the government, if he doesn't jail all the Democrats, and I am not being flippant, if he doesn't jail all of the Democrats, if he doesn't execute traitors to this country, clear-cut treason, You can look at donors. You can look at millionaire and billionaire donors and the people who are operating orgs that are clearly treasonous to the country, bringing in hordes of, that's treason. You can look at lawyers who are defending these people with all of this specious claims and training the people coming into the countries and then defending and using the system to prevent them from being removed. You can look at all of it. There are layers here like animal excrement deeper than you can imagine. I hope you enjoyed that visual, my friend. It is everywhere. The country is fetid with it. Fetid with it. You can look at Soros and how many things that he funds. Clearly, we took a look at it several years ago and the different things that he funds. And we looked specifically at the law for treason. And he, by a clear reading of the law, is a traitor to the United States. All of these people should be brought up on treason charges, absolutely destroying, remaking, re-envisioning America. That's treason. That is absolute treason. And then the penalties meted and to what degree that each deserves. Because if Trump doesn't do this over the next 4 years, if he even gets in, I mean, we're gonna breeze through a bunch of articles. It's unreal. They're being caught everywhere. Anti-whites are being, as Democrat voters, stuff is turning up everywhere. Not to mention, I mentioned Virginia being sued by the Department of Justice for taking illegal aliens off of the voter roll. Now, Virginia says these are illegal aliens that should not be on the rolls. The DOJ's position, of course, is that no, they're not illegal. You have no right to take anybody off of your voter rolls. So the DOJ, though, is not going to litigate whether or not those people are legal or illegal in the country, whether or not it's legal or illegal for them to vote. No, because if they had to litigate that, they would lose. Instead, they're going to litigate some more red tape. So just like I was talking about the lawyers keeping the border crossers in the country, they're going to say it's against the law to make a change within 90 days of an election so that they can force Virginia to allow what Virginia says are illegal aliens to vote. And this is it. Because if Trump doesn't do this over the next 4 years, if he doesn't do this, we are over a precipice. Now, things for us in this community are going to remain largely the same. But our lives are not going to, nobody's lives are going to remain largely the same. There is potentially going to be a white race that is going to be in various ways more interested in hearing what we have to say, and in other ways less interested because more fearful. You can look just across the Atlantic Ocean to an elected official's wife who just got 2 years in prison for her words because she was bad-mouthing other races of people. So this is what's coming to the United States. And it's coming fast. Let's take a look at this. Exclusive: Trump mocks Democrats for claiming he is exhausted, but will weaponize government. So there you have it. Donald Trump is coming out and he's saying, I don't know, by the way, how is it that the anti-whites, the Democrats, never figured out that you could get this guy to talk about nothing else if you just like every once a week slander one new aspect of his manhood? Is it his health? Is it his mind? Is it his endurance? Is it the size of his hands? Is it his hair? That's all they would need to do. They're so dumb. The Democrats are so dumb. And Trump would be so wound up in circles speaking to these things that he would never be able to talk about anything else. But here you have Trump, and here he is. He is mocking the Democrats for saying two things: that he's exhausted. How dare they say I'm exhausted when I'm Trump? I'm practically Lance Armstrong, pumped up full of drugs, in his prime. But the other thing is that he's mocking them for the claim that he will weaponize government. Let me tell you something. My conservative brothers and sisters out there, my libertarian brothers and sisters, my abstractionist brothers and sisters, because that's really what you all are. We lose when your argument is they project. They project. That's what they do. But we are goody two-shoes. We lose. You know who else was making that argument? Your ugly mother was making that argument. Your pot-bellied father, your beautiful mother, your perfectly fit father, they were all making the same asinine. So were your grandpappy and grandmappy. They were all saying the exact same thing. We are the good guys. They are the ones who break the rules. And they're the meanies. And then they project on us. And we don't do things like that. Look at my two shoes. Goody is written all over them. No, they're covered in shit because that's what you've been walking in. You haven't been able to look at the ground that we have been trotting as a consequence of these effeatless positions. To realize you've been walking through shit for generations. And I'm not even talking about like nice shit, like horse manure. I'm not even talking about nice fecal matter, okay? I'm talking about like really rancid, disgusting, a dog with cancer and eats nothing but pizza shit, okay? That's what I'm talking about. That's what you've been walking in. Your shoes aren't pretty anymore. Former President Donald Trump mocked Democrats during an exclusive interview with Breitbart News on SiriusXM for claiming he is exhausted. But in the same breath, feigning bogus fear, he will weaponize the government. Yeah, how does that? I can just see it right now. I can just see all the big conservative content creators, Benny Johnson, so many others, taking money from Russia, won't be standing up for the white race anytime soon, because that's not in the interest of the regime in Russia. Might be in the interest of white people in Russia. Russians are white. The vast majority of them are white. Real Russians are white. And in their mind, it might be wonderful for there to be a big white ring around planet Earth, the white roses, and we recognize finally that we are a single biospiritual people with many countries and a glorious and epic that dwarfs everything in the galaxy history. And all of that dignity bequeathed to us. There are probably plenty of white people that feel that way in Russia. But the regime in Russia, no. On a geopolitical stage, it's not good for any white country to become white positive. And that's why China and Russia and Israel and Iran and who knows how many others finance everything that tears down that identity, everything that will supplant it with some other argument, with some other concern, every single thing. Don't ever forget that tenant media, Lauren Chin, that she and her husband were only caught because they forgot to register. How many others out there, conservative entities, how many others are taking money from Russia, from Israel, from China? How many others? And they just register because it's not illegal to do that. Don't ever forget that these people were paid $100,000 signing bonus. Internet personalities, for God's sake. This isn't Brokaw. This isn't somebody coming to everybody's home that has a television in America. $400,000 for 4 videos a month. Don't ever forget it. It's everywhere. They're never going to you think you can make an argument about, hey, this is what's really good for America, and they're going to turn away $400,000? Of course not. It's not in the interest of any foreign government for America to become white positive. Know that. So you can know that there's never going to be any foreign money coming here. It's all going to have to be individuals who are almost assuredly, in almost every single case, going to have to be American as well. But it's not going to be coming from any foreign governments. The last thing they want is a proud, strong, self-identified, white positive white race running America. Last thing they want. So here you can see the conservatives. I had to jump in. The conservative content creators as we hit the top of the hour here. Epic so far. I am always epic. I am always epic, ladies and gentlemen. Here you have the conservative content creators. And what are they going to talk about? Well, they're going to talk about the projection thing I just told you. We're the goody two-shoes. And they're also going to talk about how the Democrats or the lefties or the wokies, they really like calling them that now, because all of these people are asleep. They're in comas. Maybe that's the difference really between your basic bitch conservative, is that they're brain dead. And so that's why they can't help but just heed everything the anti-whites tell them to do and say. But they're going to say here, oh, well, the wokies are dumb because how can it make sense that the Trump is tired, but then he's going to weaponize the government? How could it make sense? Make it make sense. I hate that statement. I will break this over your head, metaphorically, but maybe not. Metaphorically. If you say that to me, make it make sense. It makes perfect sense. You vegetable garden. It makes absolutely perfect sense. Trump's quip came in response to a question from Breitbart News, Washington Bureau Chief Matthew Boyle on his ass about the weaponization of a government against him. Quote, first they say you're exhausted. Then they, oh my God, I haven't read this. Then they say, I'm going to weaponize the government. Trump himself saying exactly what I said. I guess I can't be too exhausted, can I? Oh, you got him there. You got him, Gipper. You got him. Trump jested before saying Democrats have set a terrible precedent with lawfare. I hope nobody forgets the crowd chanting, millions and millions of people, lock her up, and nothing happened to Hillary Clinton. Trump did nothing. Nobody could be more guilty. Nobody could have more investigations. And I'm talking about the regular DOJ, not even military tribunals. Did nothing. President Trump, if you can hear my voice, martial law. You won't be able to turn anything back that they won't be able to stymie and reverse. Just like when Biden and Kamala got in. They reversed all of your executive orders. And now they just lie. Now she just lies. Now she just says, well, it's your fault that you didn't let this bill move forward, which was really an amnesty bill. But they just called it a bill on immigration. And they know that the vast majority of the vegetable voter garden is not going to be able to know the difference. So Trump just got in the way of a bill that would have fixed the immigration, when really what happened was that there was a presidential decree in place. And then day one, Biden got rid of it. That's what they'll do again. That's exactly what they'll do again. And best case scenario, after Trump is broken wrist Vance, anti-white, hating the white race, Vance. That'll be if you're really lucky. So just so you understand, they've set a very bad precedent with what they've done. Third world country, banana republics have done it. He said, there you go. So you are bad mouthing their behavior. It's just like the anti-Jews who badmouth the behavior of a certain percentage of Jewish people who come together to defend Jewish people. If you badmouth the behavior, you can't imitate it. You can't emulate it. And that's what we need to do in both cases. He said, but what they have done with me, I call it the Department of Injustice. Did you really say that? No. No. Don't say you just got like all Charlie Kirkish on us. That is Claudine Gay. It's Claudine Gay of you. You call it the Department of Injustice? I guess he's playing to his crowd. If he were talking with me, he would be like laser focused, highest of his IQ capabilities. When he's talking to these people, the Israel firsters, he has to break it down for the vegetables and say, I call it the Department of Injustice. And then I'm surprised he didn't throw skibbity in at the end of it, because that would have been appropriate too. I call it the Department of Injustice. Skibbity! And then they would all be like, and the FBI and the raids on Mar-a-Lago, it's unprecedented. Yeah, it's unprecedented. We need to be unprecedented. We need it. In 23 months after Trump announced he would run for president November 22, states and federal agencies brought 4 separate cases against him in the course of 5 months. The first was the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, 34-count indictment, and it was all illegal. Legal experts I have read across the board, and it was all illegal what Bragg did. That you can't do it. It cannot be done, and yet he did it. He sewed everything together to make a case unethically. And as I said, the legal professors saying it's illegal. Even if it's not in the law, it is presumed illegal. We need to do that. We need to do that. But here's the thing, and this is what's the difference in this community and every other, is that we understand that such behavior is not going to come out of prosecutors across the country like it does for the Democrats. Prosecutors who are maybe Republican voters, or they are lean right, or whatever it is, because the moral tapestry of the country, of the West, is anti-white. That's why anti-whites have the freedom, and they feel free to go ahead and break law, break custom, break norm, to do whatever they want, because they have morality on their side, the social morality on their side. How am I not recognized for this absolute genius? Anand D. Shari. How am I not recognized for this? All of these losers in the white sympathetic sphere. Recognize, motherfucker. Recognize, I figured this shit out. You didn't. Be an early adopter. "34-count indictment alleging Trump falsified business records in April 2023, followed by 2 federal cases brought by special counsel Jack Smith. The presidential documents case in June 23 and the case over the Trump campaign 2020 election challenge in July of 23. Fulton County then, Fannie Willis, Fannie Bang Them Willies, Willis, Democrat, then indicted Trump in August, because that's what she was doing. She was banging the judge. I mean, come on. What is more, former Trump advisor Peter Navarro served a prison sentence on a contempt of Congress charge And the White House chief strategist, Steve Bannon, the former executive chairman of Breitbart News, is currently serving a sentence for one. Trump said the imprisonment of former White House officials like Navarro and Bannon was once inconceivable in America. So let that be a mile marker of where we are. You're not going to shame Democrats, anti-whites. You're not going to shame them back into white behavior. They've white erased those norms. They consider those norms immoral. In fact, we're going to take a look at an item a little bit later, very briefly, about some very basic norms of the white race that are now being prosecuted by the Department of Justice. Very, very basic norms. So you're not going to be able to shame them when they don't hold your same moral metric. Trump, Breitbart, Bannon, the rest, Navarro. You're not going to be able to shame them because they think your moral metric isn't anti-white enough. And it isn't. It's not white positive enough either, to be perfectly honest. So you're not going to be able to say, well, that was unthinkable, and now they've done it. So we need to get back to, I'll get into office, and then I won't do it, and I will set the tone. They will feel shame because of, no, they're not. You know what else is unthinkable? Executing supporters of a president because of their ardent support. If they're jailing them now, if when you get out of office or they throw you out of office, if you're able to get into office, if they don't steal the election, are they then going to conclude that the most ardent supporters online and in public are supporters of terrorism because they supported you, and then execute us for being traitors to America? And then what are you going to say from your cell before they execute you? It's unthinkable that they would do this. We are in the jungle, ladies and gentlemen. We are in this notion that there is this stability, and this inertia of stability is an illusion. It's illusory. We are in the jungle. This is as much a dire and turbulent time as the most dire and turbulent times in America's history. George Washington, the rebel general, not some old guy with a puffy white wig and he was so genteel. No, this guy broke the norms of war to sneak across a frozen river, which killed a bunch of his own men, froze their limbs off, and the horses and animals and all, to attack the enemy at night or dawn. That's totally breaking the norm. So you had this norm of warfare where you had to stand up and shoot against each other. And the main founding father was like, that, we're going to kill these motherfuckers at night. That's the real George Washington. When he gets all prettied up and everything, and then he goes before and he's like, I can't be your king and all of that. That's when he's in a good mood. That's when he's in the drawing room, okay? That's when he's in the cigar room, okay? When it came down to where the rubber meets the road, I guess where the hoof met the road at the time, where the wagon wheel and the cannon wheel met the road, he killed our adversaries at night. He risked the lives of thousands and thousands in this starving army to cross this river in the middle of the night, frozen in the middle of winter. That is the real founding father. Then you can look to Andrew Jackson, and Donald Trump mentioned him as one of the greatest, who had one of the toughest times in American history as a president. How did he handle it? He destroyed the bankers. Trump, Jackson, how did he handle the opposition? He destroyed the bankers, and he gave us freedom for 80 some years from their tyranny. This man had 100 duels. How many duels did this guy have? This is as dire and turbulent a time in our history as ever. So this feeling that comes about from the white man creating all of these systems in the world. So all of these push button systems so that you can bring people from shitholes, bring them into the country or have them already here and have them say, well, I can do that job. It's just pressing a button. No shit. No thanks to the white man for creating the push button society. But you have this notion of stability. This notion, this feeling of stability that is completely illusory and is about to mask off. And if you don't mask off first, Donald Trump, things are going to get very bad, very fast. They're going to get very different from the America, even as anti-white as it's become, than we have come to know. They will have the votes, and the idea that to do whatever they want, and the idea that the Republicans will cease to exist, the Republicans will remain. They will just begin speaking to a different electorate. There'll then be a competition for the non-white people in the country and their needs and what they want, and it's all anti-white. So they'll still exist. The J.D. Vances, he'll be happily speaking to the burgeoning, very bright Indian population in America. And he'll be talking he'll be saying, well, just look at my Indian wife right here and all my Indian offspring. I don't want the white race in that circumstance. I don't want to find us there. Trump needs to weaponize the government. He needs to declare martial law. And the first group of people that Trump has to deal with is the brass in the military. There are going to be plenty of bird colonels and et cetera down the line that you can elevate to the rank of general. And then you might have to turn them over as well pretty rapidly. If somebody like Saddam Hussein can do that in Iraq, Donald Trump can do that in America. You're going to have to get rid of the hierarchy of the military because they're garbage. They've been installed after generations of anti-whiteism. They're all anti-white. You've got to get rid of them. Then you look to the next layer down. How many of them are legitimate? Elevate them. Churn them if you have to. I mean, if you have to, you bring in people from even lower down. I'm sure there are some sergeants and some master chiefs that are ready to take on the ranks of general and admiral, and let's roll, baby. Let's roll. You take care of the military first. Then you begin taking care of the traitors in Congress. And it's clear treason. It is clear as it can. It is absolutely pellucidly clear that you have treason. You've had treason for years. People would say long before this happened, when the idea came up, oh, but they'd never do that. You'd never do that, meaning jail the advisors to a former president. You don't do that to an ex-president, and you don't use lawfare on an ex-president. He added, but they are bad people. Let me tell you, they are bad people. They're sick. Trump, let me tell you this. Throughout the history of mankind, throughout the history of Western kind, there have been tests between good and evil. And evil will always do the worst that is imaginable. And the only reason the good ever win and create these blinks of the human eye of periods in history that are safe and prosperous is because the good are willing to do and do everything that the evil do in order to beat them. You better hear those words if there are any that you ever hear. If you care for America, if you care for its people at all, you better hear those words, and they better sit with you more powerfully than any others.